Hey guys, welcome to another MoFo Minute Plus. All right. Tonight I would like to reflect a bit on the game 2064 Read Only Memories. This video is actually a long time coming. I actually had done a video on 2064, like a MoFo Minute, back when they were actually a minute long. It was shortly after Limited Run had put out the physical version of the game, and I was so stoked to play it. But I mentioned in that video how I knew it was a beefy game, and I can be quite the game whore, just carelessly and recklessly jumping from game to game without finishing them. So yeah, I knew it would take a while, but I finally finished it, loved it. The real reason it took a while is because I was waiting to get the new setup to do like a proper reflection on the game. So here we are. Okay, so I love words. I love images. I love music. I, of course, am not unique in this regard, but I've always been really interested in how those things are combined and used to create such beautiful works. When I was younger, I wrote and recorded music. I'm currently writing and drawing a comic, and I would love to make a video game. But alas, I cannot code. Seems my brain is just not wired that way. But there are creations that combine all of those expressions into a beautiful whole, and 2064 is one such creation. Like many kids, I loved and devoured comics, games, music. But the revelatory magic moment for me, the moment I felt the power produced by the mix of all those elements, was playing my all-time favorite video game, Clash at Demon Head. Now, some people will ask me, how the hell is that your favorite game of all time? How? Over Super Mario 3? I know it seems kind of nuts. Certainly because Clash is not a game without its share of flaws. But there are moments in the game where these dialogue boxes appear with this like super rad character profile art, very manga-esque art. And this just blew my young mind. Forgive me for sounding overly dramatic, but it kind of shaped my life in certain ways. Thing is, like back then, it was like, wow, I'm playing this rad action game with this like kind of vague anime feel aesthetic, which I was kind of familiar with from stuff like Voltron and Robotech. But it was vague in the game due to the limitations of 8-bit sprite art at the time. But when those dialogue boxes appeared, it was like, wow, it is like a manga, and it's like playing a comic. Now, granted, adventure games that featured heavy dialogue and text had existed for well over a decade at that point, but that was like before my time. And they were primarily on PC, and I was kind of exclusively a console gamer. So you had stuff like the old Sierra games, LucasArts stuff, great stuff. I just wasn't personally privy to it. My experience was essentially like comics to Super Mario Brothers to Clash of Demon Head. And that's where it was like, wow, you could have the whole shebang in one shot. It was pretty exciting stuff. Some of you are probably thinking about RPGs. They're obviously dialogue heavy. They feature similar dialogue boxes, obviously great music. But they didn't really come into their own until the 90s. And even then, They didn't really become a big thing until Final Fantasy VII. So after Clash, there would be games that would provide that kind of hybrid sensation. Mega Man X being a notable one. But the culmination for me was Hideo Kojima's Snatcher. I became aware of Snatcher in the back of a diehard Game Fan mag. Not sure if you guys remember that. They leaned heavily into Japanese centric games, Japanese developed games, Japanese imports. I believe they began as a import shop in California, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so perhaps they were previewing the Sega CD version. I can't remember, but what I do remember is reading the impressions and looking at the pics and thinking, wow, this is like a whole game full of rad anime art and dialogue. And, the Sega CD version is probably going to have delightfully cheesy voice acting and gorgeously grainy cutscenes. And no, I'm not being sarcastic. I absolutely love that stuff, adore that stuff. If you are not a fan of those things, you needn't worry. The game I perhaps took a bit too long to arrive to, 2064, is top notch in terms of presentation. As soon as I saw screenshots of the game, I immediately thought, whoa, this is like Snatcher for our time. And like Snatcher, 2064 is a game whose main engine, its driving force, is its story. And it is beautifully written and voice acted. Its setting is a futuristic neo-noir flavored San Francisco, a tinderbox of a city seemingly on the verge of being ignited by growing paranoia and resentment. And the voice actors expertly nail the emotions necessary to convey all that. Aesthetically, the Snatcher influence is apparent, but it seems to have more of a bubblegum crisis vibe to me, which is the tits, that kind of soft, poofy haired, colorful 80s, 90s anime look. I just love it. I adore it so hard. And while I adore Snatcher, the story and characters of 2064, I believe, will return to my heart and mind a bit more. I don't think I can properly express how cool it is that a game that is on such a retro based trip is so very much reflective of the right now. Doesn't mean I'm not going to try. I'd say in the last decade or so, there's been a lot of talk, a lot written about identity politics, but specifically how they're being used. If you kind of track it from Gamergate to the Trump era to now, there's a certain segment of the populace that feels that wokeness and identity politics are being shoved down our collective throats through entertainment. 2064 to me is evidence that that whole thing is mostly a canard, a construction, and a flimsy one at that. 2064 to me is an entertaining game with a great story. Period. It doesn't strike me as something that is made for propaganda's sake or to push an agenda. It is LGBTQ friendly, but the remarkable thing it does is that it posits those kind of characters in a world where we've moved past the point where that's an issue. in society, or something that needs constant defending or explanation. The characters aren't treated as novelties. They're simply characters in a story, because they're simply people. I mean, that's where we need to be. Obviously, we have a long way to go, but I think works like 2064 do the best job of getting us there. By no means am I saying I am against works that do have a specific agenda, or that they're trying to push a worldview. Not at all. I just think 2064 is the best example of the way to go about it, because at the risk of sounding cheesy or lofty or whatever, that's the power of art. I mean, we have seen this time and time again, how the power of art enables the progress that we have had. Again, there's a lot more we need to do, but that kind of art helps. Just because, sometimes all you need is a good story and good characters, or good presentation, to reshape the minds of maybe some, unfortunately, unenlightened folks. But that has happened. So why we wouldn't want more of that? It just seems like we've gotten to this place where everything is seen through this lens of like, what's their agenda? What are they trying to push on us? Like, I just feel like if we could just sit back and simply enjoy whatever given work of art, maybe those things will like organically happen. Look, I can't speak to the intention of any creators other than myself. If you take my comic Gnarly Science, I'm sure you will find evidence of a straight male perspective in there. But I can tell you with certainty that that wasn't my agenda, and I certainly wasn't trying to actively push a straight male perspective. It happened organically because I'm a straight male. And so I'm just assuming that the creators of 2064 or whatever work, that same thing is happening, that, we just want to tell entertaining stories or make entertaining works, and that, these perspectives are going to be in there. And on that note, as a straight male, I appreciate those perspectives in 2064, or those characters that are different than me, that are different than the traditional type of person. And why would you not want that in art or stories? I mean, is that not what we've always sought out in entertainment or stories? Different perspectives, or different ideas, or different people. If 2064 was filled with nothing but straight guys, I mean, how fucking boring would that be? Why would you want that? So, yeah. Viva variety. So, in conclusion, 2064 has been a joy to play through. Like the aforementioned Clash at Demon Head, it has more than one ending based on choices made, so gotta love that. I think the Switch version is the definitive version of the game. Just has all the extra content. So lucky us Switch owners. Um, there's a side story that I heard is really cool. I haven't played through it yet. I'm looking forward to that. I haven't even touched on the soundtrack, a very important piece of the game, and it's as stellar as the rest of the game's components. It has a rad like synth feel, but it doesn't just rely on the kind of dour synth stuff that like Blade Runner s stuff that a lot of cyberpunk stuff relies on. It has a lot of like upbeat, funky, catchy kind of like retro game sounding stuff. Great stuff. I love listening to it while I'm drawing, and that's always a great signifier that you've got some dope music. So just bravo to Mid Boss and everyone involved. They've created something really cool that's going to continue to resonate. Something you should very much indulge in. I believe their next game in the series is set for early next year. I couldn't be more stoked. Hopefully, I'll be a bit more timely with the vid on that one. But then again, there is no late to the party. I've always felt strongly about that. I mean, obviously, there's so much great stuff made in the generations before ours. So, but just in the world we live in now, where there's just so much rad stuff to indulge in, we're all going to be late to the party. That's at some point. So yeah, that's it for now. I'll be back soon with another vid on I'm not sure what yet. I've got a couple things planned, reflections on bow buns, more limited run games, a book on NBA Jam, just a bunch of fun stuff. So hopefully you can check those out. Yeah, be well, be seeing you. Peace.